Okay. Well, here I am, all alone. Where is everybody? It says we're live on Facebook. Here are some people coming in. All right, we've got people. Oh boy, look at here's everybody piling in. I love you guys for joining uh, me this morning, and my trusty colleague, our new, spankin' new environmental educator, Erin Josephson, is here today too. She's monitoring your Facebook comments. If you have any comments, this isn't really other than oohs and ahs, which I think you're going to get a lot of today with this presentation, I think that there won't be a lot of comments. But Erin is here for you if you need to say anything. And I hope some of the folks that I see Victoria's here. She's got a lovely picture. Ronnie's here. Ronnie is our new Sunday gift shop assistant and associate, and Ronnie has a couple of beautiful photographs in here too. Kathleen also, some pretty. Joanna's here, and Jeffrey is here. Oh, good. So many of you that I emailed yesterday are here today. I'm so excited about this presentation today. My name's Jerry Griswold. I'm the Director of Administration and Development at White Memorial. And when the pandemic occurred and we were all in lockdown and our lives were changed probably forever, many of us for good, sadly for good, and sadly for some, and positively for some of us, because all of you folks, many of you have always been ingrained in nature, but a lot of people weren't. Like, I want to think, like, where in the heck were these people before the pandemic? Probably, I don't know what they were doing. This is none of my beeswax. My beeswax is to get you out in nature. And here we are at White Memorial with 4,000 miles of 4,000 acres of open space, 40 miles of hiking trails, and that's where everybody went. So much so that the boardwalk was closed for quite a while from the health department and the police. It was just too dangerous to have when the pandemic was really in full swing and everybody was getting sick. It was just really difficult for us to manage the boardwalk, and it was, oh my goodness, you would have thought that the world was coming to an end. FYI, we have 39 other miles of hiking trails here, some of them for me that eclipse the beauty of the boardwalk. But that's for you to find out and for me not to tell you about. So all of you came out and I asked, well, show us what you're seeing. Show us what you're seeing out here. Why don't you, jump on and take some pictures and send them to me, and we'll post them in our weekly email newsletter, The Habitatler. And boy, did you come out in force. My eyes were bleeding over the past third day. Can I tell you that? My eyes were bleeding over 1,000 photographs that I had to cut down to 200. And so this is a large presentation today, so I won't flap my gums too much more. But if your photos didn't make it in, I'm really sorry. This was really difficult. And you'll see a lot of folks here that have many pictures in, and a lot of people have only sent me one photo that made it in. And it was a tough job, and I left a lot of the others behind. As I was wrapping this thing up, it took me almost 2.5 days to put this presentation together. And I still was looking at other pictures last night when I wrapped it up, and I can't go on anymore because you guys have things to do, like make happy hour tonight or maybe something important. So again, welcome to White Memorial. And next weekend, well, actually, it's not even next weekend. This is 10 a.m. This afternoon at 2 p.m., well, I guess we're almost sold out. We have a wonderful succulent terrarium workshop going on with Susan Spanger. Susan, a couple of months ago, started doing these gorgeous floral arrangement classes for us, and they've been very well attended. So if you're interested in putting together a beautiful terrarium this afternoon at 2 p.m., it's going to cost you, members 65, non-members 75, and Susan will handhold you through this entire process. You are going to go home with a terrarium that you can greedily keep for yourself, or you can give it to a loved one. And also she does follow-ups with you to make sure that your terrarium is going to be maintained properly and you're not just going to throw it in the garbage like I do with my plants that come to my home to die. So that is that. And the other thing is that next Saturday, I'm so excited. Next Saturday at 10 a.m., I'm going to be doing a virtual program, and it's going to be on Zoom and Facebook Live, about the extinction of the thylacine, one of the most intriguing mammals that has ever graced our planet in our time. And that is free to the public, members and non-members. And I've been really interested in extinct species for many, many years. It probably goes back into my childhood, but it really kicked in this absolute obsession with them in 2015 when I was fighting for my life. I was very, very sick almost the entire year. And while I was recovering from this disastrous thing that happened to me, I encountered a man named Errol Fuller. And Errol is a British man, an Englishman, lives in Kent. And Errol happens to be one of the greatest collectors in the world of antique taxidermy and curiosities. But Errol is primarily an artist, and he says that he made his living painting disreputable sports like snooker and football, rugby, and other things like that. But Errol happens to be the world's foremost authority on extinct species. So wait a minute. So while I was struggling to stay alive, I encounter Errol Fuller and I start buying all of his books because, you know, when you're half in the bag and almost dead, what do? You read about dead things. That's, that's what I was doing. And I fell in love with him. And what I love about Errol's books is that because he's an artist, they're absolutely glorious, but also he takes really significant information that maybe a biologist might, it might be a little too scientific for you, but he takes science and makes it palatable and easy for people like me to understand. So at 2 p.m. next Saturday, I wrote him a fan letter, by the way, and he and I started being pen pals. And it got to the point where Errol, I invited him to do, I think it was a cover story for Sanctuary in the fall of 2017 on the importance of taxidermy. And he has been so giving and so kind to me. And he is going to be here next Saturday at 2 p.m. on Zoom. It's free to members, $10 for non-members. And what it's called is Errol Fuller's Show and Tell. It is Errol pulling 10 pieces from one of the greatest collections in the world and talking about the significance of each of them. I'm getting goosebumps right now because I have never spoken to him, and yet we're pen pals all the time, and I cannot be more delighted that this great man is going to be here at 2 p.m. next Saturday. Errol Fuller, the great. He's written books with David Attenborough. He's just like the nicest man on earth, and I'm so excited that he's going to be a part of the program. But that's not what we have going on today. Today we have this tremendous program, which I can't find on the screen too. Let's see if I can find this again. Jerry. Here we are, up to a great start. I'm going to get out of there, and I'm going to put this up, this presentation up again. Let's see if we can find it when I share my screen. Oh, for God's sake. Aaron, we're off to a really great start today. What can I say? We're off to a really great start. Just let me know, guys, if you can see my presentation. You can. Excellent. That's all I care about. And I'm going to take my big face and hide it. And can you see this now? Okay, excellent. So I know we're all good now. And excellent. What is this? Who can share? All panelists? I'm not going to give you guys any of the power. Get out of here. Come on. All right, so here we go. From March 20th to March 2022, and I am still collecting pictures. So all of the ones that I have now will go into a safe file, and then I'm going to start collecting again because this is something that I want to continue. I have been enjoying so many of your photographs, and all of us have, and we're just so grateful to you for contributing to this. I'd like to begin with a quote by one of my favorite authors, Charles Dickens, and just an amazing author. And he said, "In Great Expectations, we changed again and yet again, and it was now too late and too far to go back. And I went on, and the mist had all solemnly risen now, and the world lay spread before me." And that's very much a feeling that I had after the pandemic when we started petering out, because it still obviously is going on in a minor way. But this is very much a quote that I feel sort of embodies um, the world spread before you. We just all learned how to morph and how to deal with this monster for over, for 2 years, and we came out, hopefully, most of us, all the better for it. I'm not going to really speak at all through this. In fact, I'm going to take my big face off the screen. You don't need to see me. I'm just going to go through these and get my head out of here. And I don't want you to have to see me at all. And I'm probably not going to say anything. I just want you to enjoy this. I don't have music in the background. Just enjoy this, and all of them hopefully are attributed to the right photographer. I do have a comment on this one. It really isn't something that I do to post pictures as beautiful as they are, with mute swans, purple loosestrife, Japanese barberry, bittersweet. Any invasive species I tend not to put up in the programming. Phragmites is another one. But Ron's picture is so glorious that you will see a couple of my rules broken here. But if you are somebody that contributes regularly, be aware of these invasive species, and it's got to be a pretty much a kicker of a photograph in order for me to break my rule. And let's face it, Ron's just hits the ball out of the park. It's a lovely, lovely picture of an invasive species. And once again, an ethereal photograph of an invasive species. I have a double standard. I can't help it. That's a gorgeous picture. Of course, many of you know Pete Barber and his wife, Pete Raj and his wife Barb. I've had too much coffee today, Aaron. What can I say? Pete and Barb Raja are members of the Conservation Center, but also facilitators of incredible programming. This is such a pretty submission. And of course, many of you are familiar with Veronica the red-tailed hawk, who just is wild but scoots in and out of here like she owns the place, and knows every single person who works here. And this is Carrie coming up out of our basement to feed the birds, and Veronica, who can't wait for her handout, waiting at the top of the stairs for Carrie to toss some mice in the air to her. We've seen Veronica take squirrels. We've seen her take snakes. And we have a feeling that she was perhaps once the possession of a falconer. Falconers will actually catch a red-tailed hawk. They're wonderful hunters, and they can keep them for a couple of years to use as their hunting birds and train, and then they set them free again as a thank you. And we believe that Veronica had that kind of experience in her life. She knows that she's a wild bird, but when she needs a handout, she comes and begs from us. It's a great thrill to have her here. We believe she's in her 20s now, and she's still going strong. If any of you are familiar with our interpretive trail that the beavers have kind of taken over in places, this is one of the highlights of our interpretive trail. I think that Kim McDonald is one of the greatest landscape photographers that I've ever met in my life. She lives right on Bantam Lake, and you'll see many of her photographs here. They are absolutely irresistible, and she also spends a lot of time hiking our trails, and I'm extremely grateful. Especially the most, I think, ubiquitous photographers you'll find in this presentation will be Kim, Matt Belness, and Leo Kalinsky. Three people that are here all the time. And I think for all of us that are amateur photographers, and I'd say a good portion of these photographs are by amateurs, myself included, we become better photographers by spending more time outside and practicing our photography. And I can see the evolution of my pictures from 8 or 10 years ago to now. And you just learn so much by keeping up with it, keeping up, keeping up, keeping up. And boy, there's some doozies for amateur photographers. You guys just knock the ball out of the park big time. Here's another of my exceptions to the rule where there is this spectacular spectacular hummingbird moth photo, but on a purple loosestrife, which of course is invasive. How could you resist? I can't ignore a photograph like this. Every year we do a memorial at the top of Apple Hill on 9/11. This is with the great Ian Campbell. We love him so much. The winner of our raffle last year at the Family Nature Day. And Ian played guitar, and Brian Bradley brings out his birds of prey and lets them fly. And how many people show up is insignificant. We all just get together at the top of Apple Hill to remember. This was taken by Susan Spanger, who is our floral expert, who is doing our terrarium workshop this afternoon. And check out the other wonderful floral design workshops she's doing in April and May of this year too. WhiteMemorialCC.org. Not only is Leo our court photographer here at White Memorial, we also call him the godfather of, um, I don't know if you heard that. Not only is Leo our court photographer here at White Memorial, he's also the godfather to the bald eagles that nested here for the first time in 2017. Leo was the first one to catch wind of activity in their nest, and as a result of Leo's efforts, our research director called the DEEP in, and we realized in 2017 that bald eagles were breeding on Bantam Lake for the first time in 150 years. So always thank you to Leo for all of his contributions and also for being the godfather to the bald eagles of Bantam Lake. This was last year when we first started gathering together again, and that's my dog Bradley, the museum dog. And what I love so much about children is how resilient they are. You tell them they have to wear masks, they wear masks, and they're just troopers about it. And I just wish adults could be more like kids sometimes and realize that, we're wearing masks to protect the most vulnerable. But again, children just want to be outside and have fun, and they don't give a rat's patoot that we have to wear masks. It's really great to see kids being kids with all the trappings that annoy so many adults. I actually took this photograph, and we were feeding mosquitoes. It was so buggy that day. part of our enrichment for Rocky, our superstar box turtle, is to just let him wander around the upstairs where our offices are. And that's my dog Bradley, who comes in, and his office is underneath my desk. And Rocky somehow one day decided to come over here and pay a visit to Bradley. And Bradley and Rocky have, been together many, many times. It was just really funny that day. This turtle is like nothing I've ever met. He's a turtle with a soul, really quite a character. We love him to death. If you remember the wildfires back in the fall of 2020 that out in the west that actually impacted our climate and our sky, and just a beautiful photograph that Leo took of that smoky moon. It's funny if any of you are familiar with the artist Georgia O'Keeffe. Um, she took a flight. The first time she flew in a plane, she was absolutely mesmerized by being in the air and seeing the clouds. And if you look at Georgia O'Keeffe and you know, Google her cloud paintings, this beautiful photograph by Kim reminds me so much of Georgia O'Keeffe's paintings. It's just a super photograph. This photograph of Martin's is, to me, just the perfect winter moment. It reminds me of something, you know, from the early 1900s, or just, there's just something so old fashioned wintry about it. It's such a pretty picture. This is Robert Missouri. This is one of the few times when I goofed and didn't have the photographer that took this stunning picture. So if anybody knows who it is, please email me and let me know so that I can give them proper credit. And it's such a stunning photograph. Another one of those Georgia O'Keeffe's. I love this photograph, Kathleen. It is so pretty. That one little berry. Oh, it's just so beautiful. You know, photographs like this, I'm crazy about this because a lot of us don't look at the little things. A lot of us are just looking at that big picture. And Kathleen just caught something so perfect. And if we look really carefully at the minutia of nature, all of those little things are what creates that big, beautiful thing. So kudos to Kathleen for capturing this tiny little thing that would go unnoticed by many photographers and just people in general. I love this. Ah, Leo. I'm crazy about this picture, Ronnie. Really love it. This, of course, by our executive director, Lucas Heider. For those of you who have been on the Cranberry Pond Walk, it is always the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and it's truly one of the nicest the things that I look forward to doing the most is hiking this trail with you, but also at the end, I feed you crimson pie, which is made of cranberries and blueberries, and also covered with a beautiful ginger creme glaze and coffee, and we eat it right at the trail end, and it's just a wonderful event. So, just always look on our calendar. It's always the Saturday after Thanksgiving, as if we need more pie, right? But it still brings out people in great numbers. And this was this past year's annual Cranberry Pond hike. I think this is one of the most photographed trees on our property, this willow on the Little Pond boardwalk. And it's also one of the most beautiful, and I believe it's also a state tree, a very notable tree. So I want to thank you for spending this very painless hour with me. Of course, if you haven't seen Memorial Rock, it's up at the Five Ponds area. And on the stone, it reads, "In most grateful memory of Elaine and May White, brother and sister, who loved the quiet and beauty of the forest and who saved these thousands of acres for us." Please consider becoming a member of the White Memorial Conservation Center. We hope that we serve Elaine and May proud by continuing our work in conservation education and recreation here on the property. Of course, the face of northwestern Connecticut and our state alone would look very different had it not been for the generosity of this brother and sister who were two of the greatest land conservationists in the history of the United States, just not in the history of Connecticut. The Whites not only gave us these 4,000 acres plus, because we do own a little over 4,000 now, in Litchfield, Bantam, Morris, but they gifted lands to the state of Connecticut that really serve as the foundation of our state park system. many of you have enjoyed the beauty of Kent Falls and Campbell's Falls and Macedonia Brook and Mohawk and Peoples State Forest and Dean Ravine and Cornwall. All of these lands, and even lands farther reaching in our state down in Old Saybrook and Old Lyme, they're all here today because of Elaine and May White. They had amassed 10,000 acres and gifted 6,000 to the state of Connecticut. So we have so much to be grateful for throughout the state for the gifts of Elaine and May White. And again, we hope that you'll consider becoming a member of the Conservation Center. Come in actually now until March 31st. Lois Melarano, our gift shop manager, is leaving to retire, a well-deserved retirement after 27 years of being here. There is a We Love Lois sale going on in the gift shop. You can also meet Kelly Orr, who is our new gift shop manager and assistant, and see all the new cool items we brought in for the gift shop. And there's a big sale going on now also in the gift shop in honor of Lois's retirement. So come and visit those two ladies, and always come and visit our trails. And I do hope that you've enjoyed the presentation today as much as I have enjoyed receiving. It was like a gift every single day, opening up my computer and finding your photographs in my inbox. It's been the greatest pleasure continuing to do this. There will be a pizza party and an ice cream party for everybody, that every single person, not just those whose pictures made it into the presentation today, but in May or early June. Haven't scheduled it yet, but for all of you who have contributed, you'll be receiving a love letter to me, and I will come through with our pizza party and ice cream bash on the Cedar Room lawn. I think it's probably safe that we can do this now. And again, for the White Memorial Conservation Center, I'm Jerry Griswold. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.